Thanks for tuning in. HogCast 2018, Season 2, Episode 2. I'm here live with one of my good friends, former teammates, Harold Harris, member of the Arkansas All-Decade team in the 90s. He's on an elite list with people like Madre Hill, things of that nature. For this show, Chris won't be with us this week. Condolences out to him and his family. He lost his grandfather. And Raymond House is celebrating his birthday, so he won't be with us today either. But we're going to keep rolling. So, H, let me kick it to you. What do you think about this 1-5 start?
Well, it's definitely trying times right now. I know that the team is trying to find positives to point to, trying to look at things to build on, and it's just tough whenever you have a new staff coming in, a new coaching staff. It has different philosophy, has different schemes and expectations, and as players, I never had to deal with that. We just had playing on the coach nut, but
True.
When you got a new staff like that, they're trying to tell you the ins and outs and the whys and things to be successful. And when you have a not very much success and you have a 1-5 start, I know that there's probably some soul searching going on, guys trying to buy in. So I think that's just kind of where we at right now.
Do you think Chad has had to draw that line with this team? He had some trouble with buy-in?
Oh yeah, of course. You've seen some of the defections that we've had with Chevin Callaway. He's out. He's announced that he was going to look elsewhere. I think he has some personal issues going on, but
yeah, he's personal.
Trying to think of the wide receiver.
Nance.
Nance, yes. He was a guy that I know last year he started coming on, specifically that Texas A&M game. So he just decided after that fourth game with that rule of leaving. So that's definitely something that's probably game by game is probably going to play out throughout the course of the year.
So we're at 1-5. Where did you have the Hogs preseason at this point in the season?
Well, I thought we'd at least be able to get 3 games. Counting the North Texas.
So you're thinking North Texas was a win.
Colorado State.
And the opener.
Correct, which would have put us in good standings as far as like going into that Texas A&M game, which is always a toss-up. And you saw that the last time we played them a week ago. So I thought we at least have 3 wins.
So let's rewind a little bit. We're at Bama, just off the Bama game. Let's go back. Auburn, A&M, Bama. Have you seen improvement?
Yeah, I think so. I think yesterday I went to bed last night about as dejected as any other Arkansas fan. For some reason, I went in there thinking that we would have a decent showing. And I mean, you playing a juggernaut like Alabama. They're going to come in with elite speed. They're going to come in with elite size. Seeing those guys up close and personal yesterday at the game kind of spoke to that. It's just right now we're fighting for something. We're fighting for something to hang our hat on. But I have seen a little bit of improvement. Scoring 31 points on Alabama is not easy. It seemed like there for a minute, Ty Story kind of was leading the team down there. I know we had that fumble. Mm-hmm. But I think we've had some improvement. You have to find something at this point, and I think that we've had that with moving the ball specifically.
Is Story the guy?
At this point, he has to be. I know that they brought Cole Kelly in there
for the short yardage stuff.
Right. And I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, he threw a pass. He threw a touchdown pass, if I'm not mistaken, down close to the end zone. But I think everybody you bring in
Tebow kind of
right with the jump pass, but it's kind of predictable as far as like what you know that he's going to give you. But at this point, 6 games in, I think Ty Story is kind of taking the reins, and I think the coaching staff has basically said that, hey, this is our guy.
I've started to see a little more some creativity from Chad in the last 2 weeks on some offensive calls. Can you see where he's going?
Yeah, but listening to the pregame and the postgame interviews, half of this offense is not even in. I think what Coach Craddock has said, the offensive coordinator said that maybe they've had to dial back some things, and maybe if it's 4 things that we can do good right now, then they're going to do those 4 things. Right. But I think that there are some wrinkles each game. I think you saw a little bit yesterday with some of the motions, and I think that the run pass.
They ran some screens and they were doing some perimeter stuff. Right.
And I think that may be our best way to go, getting some guys in space. We got some moving parts on our offense that they can work around, but we're just not going to line up and just blow guys off the ball at this point. I think most of our offense is going to have to be on the perimeter.
So you think continuity? We're talking continuity now. You being a former running back and you got Story at quarterback. Do you think Rakeem Boyd's your guy, or is there a chance for Duval Whaley to come back?
Yeah, I was kind of worried when they announced that he wasn't going to play. I guess he's still dealing with some of the remnants of the concussion. In this day and age, you have to protect those players. A lot of times I've had concussion. You have to protect guys from themselves because, yes, Devwah Whaley, if he could go, then he probably would go. But what I've seen from Rakeem Boyd, I mean, he's a talent that we have to be able to get that ball to. He had 100 yards yesterday against an Alabama defense that's, my understanding, is fifth in the nation.
I think he's one of 15 backs in the Nick Saban era that has rushed for 100 yards, and McFadden being one of those other ones on the Alabama defense.
Right. So I like what Rakeem Boyd has given us. Going back and watching some of that Last Chance U, you knew that he could be a dude that could tote it for you. Right now, Williams, Malik Williams, he hadn't really, except for the first couple of games, you hadn't seen him out there. Trying to think of
what about Chase Hayden.
Chase Hayden, he's a guy that you can bring him in off the edge. You can kind of run some jet sweeps with him.
Yeah, I think him toting the ball 10 to 15 times. I kind of see him now. If you got Boyd and another back, what do you think about him being kind of that slot jet sweep guy? Does he have good enough hands to maybe play that slot position?
Haven't really seen much of in that aspect of his capabilities to be able to catch the ball right now. I'm not saying that he can't do it. Haven't seen it, so that's yet to be discovered. Going back, I saw looking at the stats here. Malik Williams had 1 carry. Jordan Jones, he had 1 carry, and he's a wide receiver. But I think that for this team to be successful, we're going to have at least one more guy step up and be able to share that load. I like what Chase Hayden is. He in space. He has that capability to do that.
Then we begin getting solid tight end play. What do you think about tight end play?
C.J. O'Grady came. He came on a little bit yesterday. He had a pretty good game. I know that they've been counting on him. He's kind of been in the doghouse since the beginning of the year. Had a suspension, so I think yesterday he was able to come out of his shell a little bit and step up. And no perfect time, and then going against the number 1 team in Alabama to be able to do that.
What about our special team woes? You weren't a part of episode 1, so. We actually didn't give up a special team touchdown yesterday, did we? But we did get scored on the first play.
Correct.
Which kind of gives us that same kind of punch in the face.
Right.
What do you think about our special teams? And it seems like our defense, we literally have to be in the hole or get punched before we start playing. What is that?
Yeah, our special teams, I would like to see maybe just me. I know during our time on the Hill as Razorbacks, we've had several of our defensive guys that were able to go out there and fill positions on the special teams. that you can either win a game or lose a game special team wise. And we dug ourselves in the hole. I know that Texas A&M game we gave up a kickoff. Yesterday was a pleasant surprise because I know Alabama has elite skill on all phases of their kicking game.
With Waddle and the running back, number 8, the backup running back.
Yes.
Can't think of his name. Yeah. So, pushing forward, is that Alabama team as good as advertised?
From what I saw yesterday, man, that was I was kind of in awe just watching them just as fast as those guys were. I was sitting there with my wife and 34 Harris. He ran probably 4 times in a row, and on that third carry, I was like, okay, this guy has to be getting tired. They gave it to him a 4th time, so they can mix in. Najee Harris is another guy that they have, 22, the big guy, and then number 8. I'm trying to think of his name. Jacobs, yes, sir. He's an elite back. But watching that first play, I didn't even get a chance to make it to my seat good, and I saw up on the big screen they ran one play to the tight end, and he's a big guy, 6'5", 250, 45-pound guy.
Yeah.
You get the ball to him. If you can do that, then a lot of teams have the work cut out for them, and being able to watch Tua Tagovailoa work in person, man, it was something that I'm not gonna see a whole lot of.
Who's the closest you've seen to him?
Man, he's a special talent. I'm trying to height-wise, he's not that tall of a guy.
Drew Brees kind of.
Yeah. Drew Brees. As far as like the dynamic, as far as being able to spin that ball as good as he is. There's nothing like a left-handed quarterback that's going to be able to when it's on, it looks good. I'm trying to go back. Has a lot of Johnny Manziel in him. A little bit polished passer at this age. He's only been on campus for 2 years now. He's a true sophomore. His first time really being the starting signal caller and knowing it. I know that Georgia game he came in there and. For a half, he played good. Had some spots where he looked kind of shaky, but man, I'm trying to rack my brain. This is a once in a generation talent.
Has he played a 4th quarter this year?
He has not thrown a pass this year in the 4th quarter. I have to go back and look, but I was just looking at some of the stats and some of the press release. He is yet to throw a 4th quarter pass this year.
What is the? Do you think the Hogs have a chance? What are the Hogs' chances? Let me rephrase this. Of landing Kelly Bryant.
I think we probably got as good a chance as anybody that's out there right now. Just familiarity with Chad Morris. I know by the time that Chad Morris was recruiting him, I want to say he was already at SMU, if I'm not mistaken. But I think with the offense that he's been accustomed to running. All of these schools, I think Auburn is one school that's he's looking at. It's a few others, but just about all these offenses are pretty similar as far as the run-pass option and getting the quarterback involved, some of the jet sweeps, all of these offenses, but who's going to be able to sell it? And I think Chad Morris is going to be able to use the connections that he had at Clemson with developing that offense, and the quarterback that they had there is pretty identical. If you put on the tape as far as like what that offense was whenever Chad Morris was there as offensive coordinator to when he left, really not much different. So I think we would have a good chance. Granted, albeit it's going to be for 1 year, but I think that we should have a good chance to be able to sell the opportunity to come here and be the starter day one.
If you're Chad Morris, how do you pitch that to thinking you've been that athlete recruited? If you're Chad, how do you sell a Kelly Bryant? Like, I know you got 1 year, we're struggling. How do you make that sell to him over, say, like an Auburn who's doing a little better than us this year, who may be vying for a SEC championship?
Yeah, I think you sell it. Number one, the offense that I'm gonna put you in, Kelly, is if I'm Chad Morris, I'm sitting down and make the phone call and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Bryant, I'm gonna tell the parents first. This is the offense that we envision right now. We have some pieces that we are trying to mold and gel to be able to run our offense, but it all goes back to the quarterback. And I think that with your skill set, I think you would be able to come in and pick things up and move, get out of the pocket. I know some of the deficiencies that we have on the offensive line can be masked by your ability. So I think that if you come here, I think that we can surround you with some of the skill positions that we have and put you in a position to be successful.
So if we get, you're thinking, grab Kelly Bryant next year. You've got the KJ Jefferson coming in.
Correct.
So he would be, so basically Chad could be set for the next 2-3 years with the quarterback that he needs to run his system, is what you think.
Right. And I think that with the Jefferson kid, if you get a chance to go and watch some of his tape, I want to say it's either South Panola or North Panola, Mississippi high school. But nice size. If we can get someone like Kelly Bryant to come in and master the deficiencies that right now that we have on our offensive line and be able to have Kelly Bryant mentor KJ Jefferson, be able to redshirt him, and I think in 2020 it would be a situation that we'll be better off by him being able to come in, learn the offense, because the intricacies of it is, my understanding is pretty detailed.
Well, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back. HogCast. All right, we are back. I'm joined this week by Harold Harris, former Arkansas Razorback cornerback. Did a little punt returning too, right?
Yes.
So let's go back and let's take a trip down memory lane. So how did you find your way up on the hill from Malvern?
Well, I found my way up here. Malvern, we've had several guys just from our small little town. You mentioned Madre Hill, but guys like Vince Bradford, Isaac Davis,
Yeah, Ike Davis,
Isaac. It's been 6 of us. And those guys they were people that I looked up to, or kind of my brothers and been mentors to me. So when I came along in '98, Vince Bradford, he was already gone. Isaac, he was gone from up here. Madre was entering his 5th year. So those were guys that I just looked up to, and it was kind of wanted to stay close to home. I know my mom. Probably if I went off to let's say a North Carolina, getting back and forth home, man, would probably be very tough to do that. But just having those guys to look up to, it was kind of like a pipeline where you came out of Malvern during that time, then that was kind of going to be your destination.
So was it Arkansas from day one, or did you ponder maybe going to some other schools?
Yeah, I got recruited by all the in-state schools. I want to say the old Ohio State head coach was at Arkansas State at the time, Joe Hollis.
Okay.
So he was trying to sell me on going to Arkansas State. UAPB was on me a little bit. All the in-state schools were showing interest. Missouri they were on me pretty tough. North Carolina actually sent a couple of recruiters down to Malvern to check out a couple of games of mine. So it came down to Arkansas, Missouri, and North Carolina.
So Arkansas won. Who was your second slot?
North Carolina, believe it or not,
Was number 2.
believe it or not, and then Missouri was looking at me pretty tough.
Yeah.
I was getting letters from a lot of schools, Nebraska specifically, but just getting those letters, everybody gets those letters, but but when you get in recruiting, you look. I tell kids, was it written or was it typed?
Get that handwritten. You're on a different list when you get the handwritten letter.
So those are kind of the things, man, that I was looking at. Not too much pressure, but I knew it's good to have options though. Also,
you were running back in high school, right? Or a two-way player.
Yes, I played safety. I didn't play cornerback until I got here. I never played corner. I was a safety and running back.
Okay. So Arkansas was recruiting you to play
running back.
And got here and got switched to.
My first day, first practice. Remember how Coach Nutt would do. If you were, let's say, a running back, you would give a look at cornerback, defensive back. If you're a defensive back, he'll give you a look at wide receiver. Tight end, you go to linebacker. Right. Offensive line, you go to D-line. So, very first practice, it was, and that was just kind of just playing your role. I want to go back whenever you were asking, we were talking about the guys that came up here before me. I don't want to leave out Gerald Skinner. Gerald Skinner was a guy that came up here before all of us. I want to say in the 70s. I'm trying to think what position Mr. Skinner played. And then Tony Allison was another guy. Okay. And then after me, his nephew, Grady Allison, played offensive line and was pretty successful. He ended up transferring. But those guys were the ones that came up here before me.
It's a natural line. If you're a Malcolm Leopard, that we will be a Razorback.
Yeah, and I wasn't, when I got here, I wasn't just too opposed to going to cornerback. I want to say we only had maybe 4 guys on scholarship, and I can name them off, just Deron Moss, David Barrett, Orlando Green.
OG.
We had a couple other guys, but just as far as that room just being the scholarship guys, that was it.
You had opportunity there.
Right. So I know coming in, I wanted to play right away. I wasn't opposed. If they would have redshirted me, I wouldn't have it wouldn't have been an upsetting thing to do that, to be able to learn. But just coming in, I wanted to be able to play that first year.
I don't know if I ever told you this story. Coach Hill, I don't know who was recruiting you. Coach Hill was recruiting me. And
you told me this a time or two.
We had Dion on number 2 at Florida State. I had 4 my senior year, but I had told Coach Hill I wanted to wear number 2. And up until the last minute, he never said yay or nay. And then he finally broke it down to me. I gotta give it to this guy from Auburn. I don't know, man. You on my radar, man. I wanted that number 2, man. And I think for spring, I may have even worn it during practice. Because, you guys would wear the white jersey, we'd wear the red, and so I could wear number 2 in practice. But, yeah, I wanted that number 2, man. I had visions of being like, you remember old David Palmer, the Deuces Loose? Deuces Loose in college.
Yeah, man, those are fun times, but coming out of Malvern, I think that was just kind of the thing that it was a foregone conclusion that you were going to be a Razorback coming up here. Running back had a stacked room with all those guys that they had on that side of the ball. But I don't have any regrets. You always wake up and you think, okay, what might have been or what could have been or should have been. But I'm not going to be one of those guys that live my life and go back and try to rehearse things and rehash things. As far as being told, hey, you're going to be one of my running backs, and then you get on campus. And first day on campus, I did some soul searching. I was contemplating leaving, transferring out. Yeah, that crossed my mind. And my mom just put in me, hey, start what you finish. You go somewhere else, you're going to start over. There are going to be difficulties. There's going to be things that don't go your way. So toughed it out, man, and I'm about as big as a Razorback fan as you're gonna find. I know we're going through some adverse times. I know we're going through some difficulties, but I've been up here on recruiting visits, man, where stadium was half filled whenever you're playing Louisiana Lafayette, or that was one of the games that stuck out to me. But yeah, I don't ever go back and think did I make a wrong choice by coming up here and getting out of my comfort zone with playing another position. I just think about the fun times and the memories that we had, man. Lifelong friendships that we've formed and gelled throughout the years.
Yeah, back when we played, we had a thing called the ball hawk, where it was given to the player who exerted himself or maybe got a turnover or just doing exceptional things. Right now, who would you say is our offensive ball hawk?
I'm gonna give it to Rakeem Boyd. I'm a big Rakeem Boyd fan right now. Just from starting out from the beginning of the year, he was kind of buried on the depth chart. Came in a little bit and gave us a little bit of a look in that Colorado State game. Every game he's progressed. He got the 100 yards yesterday against the Alabama, which I don't think we need to go back on it and tell her how great that Alabama defense is. But right now, Rakeem Boyd has kind of been that bell cow. I don't see Devois Whaley coming back and overtaking that position at this point. I know you hate to lose your spot because of an injury. I think we've already spoke on the seriousness of concussions and that sort of thing. But it's next man up, and he answered the call whenever his number was called. Right now, Rakeem Boyd would be that guy for the offense.
Okay, how about on defense?
Man, that right now defense that's we may have to come back to that, because right now I don't think there's not one guy that's kind of standing out. I know I like 90, the D tackle. I like him.
How about Harris?
Yeah, I like him. Yeah, Scooter Harris is definitely. I'm glad you brought that up. He would probably be our guy on defense, I would say.
You'll take him before 23.
Yes, right now, yes. I know that he's had some injuries. Right now, they're kind of a 1-2 punch. Both of those guys are playing at a good level right now, but I think Scooter Harris is probably the guy that has stood out play by play, game by game, that's come with it every game and just giving it his all. So I think right now he will probably be the guy that we can build around. A young guy too. He hadn't played much ball.
Greenlaw as well.
Greenlaw, yes, Greenlaw. Right. Yeah, Armand Watts is 90. That's who I'm thinking about.
All right, flip side. Oh, these are the ball hogs. Do we have some guys that just like, when I turn the tape on, they're just not showing up, and I expected to see more when I turn the film on. As the coach speak, the eye in the sky doesn't lie.
Defense right now, again, I know we talked off air about the safeties with Curl and Santos Ramirez. Really, three of those three guys on defense for sure are just, especially with, I have a high expectations for Santos Ramirez. Number one, him just being a older guy. He's a senior, so this is his last game.
Right.
I mean, these are going to be his last games. This is his last year. So
you figure 6 games, right? 24 quarters. You got to go get it.
Yeah. Time is ticking. Tomorrow is definitely. I know these guys all have aspirations of playing on the next level. Cameron Curl, he has to come on. He has to be a guy that's going to be able to come on. I know he's playing a new position, but it's still football.
He seems, and I know that cornerback and playing in the defensive backfield, he seems to be a very emotional player. I kind of fall in and out with Curl because I see him make some plays, I see him miss one, and I see him spending a lot of time interaction with the crowd.
Right.
Which you need those guys, but he draws a lot. I don't know if he's wasting too much energy doing that.
Right,
his
right.
interaction.
Yeah, his focus definitely needs to be on the next play. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can kind of curtail that in and reel a guy back in from that. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with. But you got to be able to make some plays. Make some plays when the plays are presented to you. I see a lot of catching. When I mean catching, as far as like the guy has already breaking into the second level. That's when I need to see him come up and be able to be that fit in the run, being able to be that last line of defense on the defense.
Gotcha. Yes, that is so true. Next week we head to Little Rock. What are your thoughts?
A very winnable game. I know Ole Miss's defense has been pretty up and down. They're going to be able to score points. They have some elite wide receivers. It's a 6:30 kickoff, so hopefully that crowd down there will be able to be appreciative of having an SEC game and creating an SEC-type atmosphere. I know there's been a lot of back and forth around the state as far as should there be one game? Should all the games be in Fayetteville? I think that has been decided now. So the state, everybody has to rally around the team right now and be able to give them that 12th man and be able to create an atmosphere and have these guys be excited.
Did you see what Mike Leach said about playing at War Memorial?
I did. Refresh me.
Where he was saying they asked him about some of the hardest places or loudest stadiums. And he named Royal Memorial. I guess it's back his Kentucky days.
Yeah.
With Harold Mummy as offensive coordinator, which you got to think that would have been our freshman year.
Right.
That was a pretty raucous crowd down there.
Yeah. Another game that stands out to me was the UNLV game. I mean, you talking about an excited crowd. And I think the one thing that kind of got pointed out to Coach Nutt when we played, we were undefeated. We didn't lose a game. I want to say Coach Nutt had reeled off maybe 10 straight games where we won. Back then, I think we were getting 2 games in Little Rock, if I'm not mistaken.
You went almost, I want to say, 6 or 7 years without a loss down there.
Right. So whenever that crowd is 55,000 people, so when they're on, and I think that last year there was a game. That game was early, and I want to say it was on a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and look, but that game was on Thursday, so I think that probably kind of affected the crowd. But when those people are excited down there, and when they show up for a game, I think that can create an atmosphere. I think some of the luster from the crowd has been taken off when you lose to Toledo. Lost to Louisiana Monroe, kind of takes away, and none of these, the traveling, I know that was kind of some things. Is it a home game? I know the
previous regime kind of made it seem like a away game almost.
Right.
They had a different philosophy about it.
Yeah, but it's still football, whether it's played in the park at Prairie Grove or if it's played out in a parking lot in the middle of the street in Lincoln. It's still football. Go down there and play. None of those things kind of came up whenever we were winning. Losing kind of does that. When you lose a couple games, put a game on Thursday, crowd don't show up like you want them to, then those kind of things come up and becomes an issue. Just go down there and we just win, baby, like Al Davis has said with the Oakland Raiders.
So are you going down this weekend?
I will be there. My sister-in-law, she normally gets tickets, and we normally always go down there. So I want to say I hadn't missed a Little Rock game in probably the last 5 or 6 years.
Really?
Yeah. So growing up a Southern Arkansas guy, wasn't always able to come up here to the Fayetteville games. What was a given is that I was going to be able to go to the Little Rock. It's just kind of tradition. I know we used to be able to play LSU, I think, after Thanksgiving. It was that Friday game.
After
CBS. Everybody's you warming up, dressing, and
midday.
Right. You warming up leftovers from Thanksgiving, the turkey, and the one thing that you knew that you were going to watch that 2:30 game on CBS, which is the marquee game. Not really just on the Thanksgiving weekend, but any 2:30 game on CBS is kind of the creme de la crop.
So you have a different perspective on that. Me being an out-of-state kid, it's Little Rock, Fayetteville, but for you do you think we need to keep this game to get that half of the state, or maybe 2 games?
I think that is a must. I know Coach Morris is his thing is getting the Texas guy. That's kind of like his claim to fame. He knows Texas, but for this state in which we are a unique situation, we don't have a pro team. So we have other Division I schools in this state. We have other colleges in this state, but when you got a good portion of the talent for as Arkansas, when you get Arkansas players, a lot of them come from that Little Rock area. Little Rock has almost become a basketball state.
Yeah.
So you go back and look over the last few years, when you talk about our good friend Raymond House, Little Rock guy, Cedric Cobbs, Little Rock guy, one of the best that ever played here. My perspective, Darren McFadden, Little Rock guy. We've had other Orlando Green, Southern Arkansas guy. So that is the heartbeat of your state as far as like producing the talent. All of these schools are pretty much running the same offense now. As far what I know, Brett Bielema, he came in, he wanted to have a different philosophy. But I think the identity of this state, you go and look at any high school, whether it's in Arkansas, Southern Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas, they're all running that spread. But population-wise, that is the Central Arkansas. We have to be able to have a presence there and be able to connect the state. Because you're looking at a family, let's take El Dorado, Arkansas, or a family of 5 from Malvern, Arkansas, Arkadelphia, Hot Springs, that area, to be able to travel to Northwest Arkansas for a weekend game, even if you just come for the game on that Saturday.
And then leave after the game.
But you're spending a lot of your hard-earned money to be able to do that. And I think it's only fair that we be able to connect the state. And I think by keeping that game, I was so happy that they were able to at least keep one. But at the same time, give the people an SEC game. Right. I know I was at that Georgia game a few years back, and the crowd, it was kind of the thing where, okay, we're going to give you guys, when I say you guys, then we're all Hog fans, should be. If we give you an SEC game, okay, you need to show up. The onus is also going to be on the people from that area down there to be able to show up and say, hey, we're going to support this team. We're appreciative of having a game here.
That is true. And they're making some slight improvements to the stadium, correct?
Well, they haven't. I mean, it's an aging stadium, but my understanding that I don't. Maybe I'm not knowledgeable of those improvements. I'm not sure, but my understanding, I have not seen any.
Well, I'll say this then. I heard something watching College Game Day yesterday with the Texas OU game, which is still played at the original Cotton Bowl. And they were saying, man, we have to keep this game here. There's something about this stadium playing on this turf. I mean, you've got Jerry's World, which is beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. But they want to keep that game. There's something about that stadium and that fairground. You have the state fair going on, the whole 9 yards. Let's keep this game, this OU Texas Red River rivalry. Let's keep it at the original spot. There's something about the nostalgia. The atmosphere is just a different atmosphere than Jerry's World.
Correct, and I'm gonna be down there. The tailgating is probably possibly second to none. I know whenever we played, you talk to any of the guys, right, man, and they would tell you that just to look into people's face whenever we do our walk into the stadium right there, the look, the pats on the back, the little kid that wants your autograph. Whether it's on a dollar bill or on a napkin, they were, because the school is not there. They were given only. Then, like I say, it was given 2 games, but the atmosphere that's created on that golf course with the fans, it may be 100,000 people there. It's the same nostalgia with that Red River Shootout.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Being, like I said, being an out of state kid. to me, that crowd was more of a grassroots out of the mud crowd back then. You had a golf kind of clap crowd in Fayetteville back then. They showed up, but that 55 was just as loud as the 75 up on the hill to me.
Yeah,
In
and
what
I
way?
also think that with the school being here, I think there's a good portion of us versus them. And when I go back and I say, hey, we're all Hog fans, but with the school being here, um, and I've just seen some of the message boards. It was kind of disappointing to me that out of resentment for the game being in Little Rock, there's a faction of Arkansas fans that say, "Hey, I'm not going to go down
Make
there.
the
I'm not
trip.
going to make that trip. I'm not going to go down there and pay for a ticket to go to the game," which is really disappointing. But that's been settled. I think for the next 10 years, I think the resolution was the every other year
Yeah.
that I think every odd year, if I'm not mistaken, they're gonna have the game there and in Little Rock, and then on the even years the game will be in Fayetteville. But the spring game is going to be on the off year that the game is in Fayetteville. They're going to have the spring game down in Little Rock.
Mm.
So I think that was kind of the compromise, and I think that that's been settled for the next 10 years. So
Okay.
let's move forward. Let's get around these guys and support them. Let's show up whenever because right now, when we played, teams feed off of the atmosphere of the crowd. Whatever the
That's
crowd
very true.
atmosphere is, then that's what the team kind of
And that's what Nick
feeds off
Saban,
of.
I think he was speaking to about his student section.
Yes, correct. I saw that.
That he knows that when you show up and it's dead and you don't have that student section, players you can fall into that lull and just
Hmm.
and it helps to have that atmosphere.
Correct.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, I think it'll be big for us to and I think winning. These people saying they won't make that trip.
That's the great equalizer.
If we're 6-1, 7-1, 8-0, they'll make that trip.
Right, because those issues never crept up whenever when you're 11-0, you beat a Tim Couch in the Rock.
I didn't hear anything about that.
There was you drop a game to Louisiana Monroe, then you drop one to Toledo in heartbreaking fashion. Those kind of things start showing up, and then if you're not given an SEC worthy caliber of a game, I know, like I say with the Georgia game, there was some kind of disappointment with what the crowd numbers were, but year in and year out, I think if you can be able to keep an SEC game there, and winning kind of solves all of that.
That is true. Well, H, I appreciate you stopping by this week.
Oh yeah. I told you whenever, when possible, I will love to be on. I know a couple of games I've been out of town. Love coming over here, man, to talk football and contribute to the wonderful show that you have. So I just appreciate you having me.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys. It'll be another 2-3 weeks, and we'll be back on for episode 3. And until then, go Hogs.